Welcome to Close the Door and Come Here, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast with heavy leanings towards our two favorite characters, Raymond and Rowan.
Oh my god. Our new ship.
Hey everyone, I'm Guile, and I am on Blue Sky as Guile and Subterfuge, and tonight I'm joined by Chicky.
Hey, I am Chicky, and I'm on Blue Sky.
And Kama.
Hi, I'm Kama, and I'm Kama Splice on Blue Sky.
And Devin.
Hey, this is Devin. I'm GD Harpo on Blue Sky. And
tonight we're going to discuss the final episode of Season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms called The Morrow. And spoiler alert for potentially spoiler alert for the Sworn Sword and the Mystery Knight and the entire Dunk and Egg series, I guess. If you really want to go in unspoiled, probably don't listen to us, I guess. So today's episode opens with Lyonel Baratheon and his maester staring down at Dunk, and I was really it felt like 2000s British television music. Does anyone have a better musical reference to the music that was playing? Because it was very strikingly different.
It was the smooth jazz. It was awesome. I loved it. I can't believe I loved it, but I did.
One of several interesting musical choices in the series so far, and I'm not saying that euphemistically.
Yeah.
So the Maester's looking over Dunk, and Lionel's trying to convince Dunk to come to the Stormlands with him, and it's like he's kind of like, oh my god, it's going to be so boring to go home after the tourney. Like, this was awesome. And, if you come with...
he's really selling Dunk on how great it will be when he's, saying how terrible it is at his house. Yeah. It's like, well, why would he want to go with you?
Yeah. And, they can do a side trip to Tarth, which was, our little call-out. They'll be, brothers, wink, wink. He's really given Dunk the hard sell, and... Dunk's still processing everything that happened. And, Dunk's not ready to buy, pleasure and happiness at this point in his life. Dunk needs to, go through it a bit before he's ready for that. And, Lyonel kind of changes course a little bit and is like, these Targaryens suck. And shit's gonna go down, and I want you on my side, basically. And
well, I love how he's stop mourning for Baylor. The Humphreys also died for you, and it actually cost to them something because they weren't fighting people who couldn't hurt them. And
yeah,
this is just a continuation. This whole season, they've kind of been going really hard at the Targaryens in a way that obviously I deeply appreciate. And this really continued it. It was kind of unrelenting. I mean, I like how they very clearly show an alternative to this, that there are Targaryens who are not this way. But it's a really good pounding on the position of power that Targaryens took, just by force of dragons.
It felt like this scene was almost like post-coital. And the jazz especially that was how I was reading a lot of it.
Lionel's kind of, love me, I love you, but you still love Baylor.
Yes, very, very pillow talk, come home with me.
Yeah. And, I mean, the thing with the whole anti-Targ aspect of this is that, I mean, in Egg's future, the Targs aren't the problem. The Lyonel Baratheons of the world are the problem to reform, right? So it's kind of an interesting, we the audience have been taught to think all the shit everyone's saying about the Targaryens is true, but is it still? I mean, the king is literally called Darren the Good. Ares is known for, being really into learning and education, and we had Baylor, we have the Targs are the problem is sort of an interesting point for Lyonel to make at this point in Westerosi history, in my opinion.
I mean, I feel like they're just coming off the Blackfire Rebellion, which was 100% a result of a king on an absolute crazy power trip trying to cause an actual war for no reason. So, I mean, I think in recent history, they would probably say, no, the Targaryens have absolutely been a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, going forward, the Baratheons are certainly going to do their part.
Well, never forget they are Targaryens. So.
Right, they are Targaryens. Yes.
I also think here is interesting that it's because something I've never thought about, because it doesn't come up in the novellas, but Lyonel, again, he says it right before they battle or something to the same effect, that the gods don't favor a fraud. And that, I mean, being why Baelor died ultimately. I just found it really interesting that they made a point to say something like that again from Lyonel. Like I said, it's just something I'd never thought of because it's not mentioned in the novellas at all.
Well, and like the fraud is Dunk.
Yeah,
if we're talking about frauds in this, in that scenario. So Lyonel does, the Maester basically says, Dunk's dying, and Lionel's like, well, this Maester doesn't know what he's doing. He's terrible. He'll be fine.
I love the way that the Maester like sticks his finger in the wound and then smells it. Oh my god!
Like, I mean, probably like not, as long as his hands were clean. Maybe like you learn something from the smell, I guess. I don't know.
I gotta say, I love the way that this show is handling not just the Maesters, but also the Faith. Like, I just kind of love how it is definitely distinct to me from Game of Thrones. And I'm loving it. I'm here for it.
So Lyonel has this great line, like, but I think it's like, see me after the after the roast. And then we immediately cut to Baelor's body being burnt. Or roasted.
I know.
And we do get that, like, the member of the Seven and the Silent Sisters, which is kind of cool. We never see them. Doing
in my closed captioning, it says that this teenager is what it looks like is a Septon. Actually, This is actually a full-fledged Septon. Apparently,
like this young, hardy teenager.
Looks like a baby, just an absolute baby Septon.
And we get this line of Targaryens. But like, there's an old guy. And I don't know who that's supposed to. I have no clue who in the world that is supposed to be.
I wondered that too, because I'm like, this can't be the king. Is this an uncle of theirs or something? I don't even know.
They wouldn't have. I mean, no, they don't really. I mean, their only uncle would be Aemon Dragon Knight, right? And he's
I mean, it's
long gone.
Obviously, it's not Bloodraven, but I mean, I think there are other. Not all of the bastards turned against the main Targaryen line. Yeah. Some of them were with them, so it could be one of those.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Like, people, like, just to, go into our Targ history for a second, like, I think Bloodraven and Maekar are the same age, and Baelor and Daemon Blackfire are the same age, and then Bittersteel is like a year younger, but, like, Daemon, Bittersteel, Bloodraven, Maekar and Baelor all like would have been, of an age together. And, people were pointing out too that, Bloodraven's mom is a Blackwood, and she had like 3 kids with Aegon the Fourth, and like she was friends with Nerys. Like Nerys was kind of like okay with that relationship. And so presumably Bloodraven was probably brought up with Baelor and Maekar and Aerys and Rhaegal. Like, they were all, and all essentially, like normal cousins, really.
Well, yeah, I think you kind of hear from Egg in the novellas that he definitely knows Bloodraven. Like, these are not distant relatives to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Dunk is watching kind of from a distance, and as the Silent Sisters are taking care of things, he approaches Valar and just, kind of to say, I'm sorry. And, Valar is like, Valar is just absolutely devastated. He says lots of sons die in their father's armor, but how many fathers die in their son's armor? And like, he just, like his loss is like almost too much. And he doesn't, nothing Dunk can say is going to make this okay. And like, you know, Dunk's kind of like, I know I'm not worth it. And, you know, Valar is very much like, yeah, you're not.
Okay, so was anyone else during this scene just like, I was like trying to pay attention to what was happening, even on my rewatch, but I was so mesmerized by whatever was going on with Valar's hair, this like little streak of white.
Yeah,
I mean, this actor did such an amazing job, though, of channeling Birdie in here. Like, he was so good. And also the hair. So you know, Dunk's not getting what he needs here, you know, like, or he is. You know, he's trying to find a reason to be alive, I think, right? And, you know, he hasn't found that yet. So he walks through the camp and people are taking tents apart, and he runs into Raymond Fossaway, who gives him this super weird hug, which lasts like a very long time. I don't know why. And it turns out that Raymond has a couple of new things in his life. He has a new shield, which is the green apple, and he has a wife. And it's our friend Rowan, who we met as one of Lord Dondarrion's ladies. And, you know, they're married. Apparently, she's already well aware that she is with child after one night. And Raymond was like, oh, I guess I have to marry you. Ha ha ha. And, you know, she gives Dunk this. She and Dunk are saying a lot in their looks to each other here, where she's like,
do not ruin this for me.
Do not ruin this for me. And Dunk is kind of like, I can't believe how dumb my friend is. He seemed nice. I didn't know he was this dumb.
You know, I love this whole bit, like, because, you know, the show has just been such an antidote to what Game of Thrones became. And I love that, okay, yeah, she's a sex worker and she's gulling this guy, but you know what? She's not being brutally murdered, or, you know, kudos to her for landing a nice guy.
And you know, she was nice to Dunk. Like, we like her. You know, she was kind.
Yeah, it's not like she's going to be, I think she's well aware that she's on her way to something better, and she's going to do whatever she's got to do to keep that going. But I thought that was an interesting choice, and I was very pleased by it.
So Dunk decides to go along with it. You know, he's not going to expose her or, you know, kind of ruin his friend's moment of married bliss. And they're interrupted by some of Maekar's personal guards, who tell Dunk that, you know, Prince Maekar wants to see him. And, you know, just for the record too, like, you know, Lyonel Baratheon had like a cane that he was walking with. Dunk's beat to hell. Raymond's obviously very injured. And when we see Maekar again, you know, he's kind of moving real slowly. So like, we do see that all of these guys are just, you know, barely recovered from the battle, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, I liked that touch too. I liked that they really showed what the cost was for this stupid trial by 7. Like, I love how Aerion is bedridden at this point.
Yeah, he's the worst. And, you know, Dunk and Maekar have this conversation, which is very much lifted directly from the books, where, you know, Maekar acknowledges that they're going to share the blame for this for the rest of their lives. And he talks about how, you know, every time that summers, you know, there's no rain or winter's too long, people are going to say, well, if Baelor was king, that wouldn't have happened. Like, every single bad thing that happens is going to be blamed on the fact that Baelor died, and that they're both going to be the reasons. And I think, like, this maybe gives both of them a little bit of comfort in some weird way, that they can, like, I think for Maekar to be able to say this to someone, and, you know, to say, I didn't mean to kill my brother. And
well, and I like how it obviously, you know, makes Maekar feel some sort of kind of, I don't know, the term I keep thinking of is like kinship with Dunk, but, you know, like, basically like they're kind of identifying in a way that very few people can identify with one another as far as what their position is in this narrative, I guess.
And like trauma bonding almost.
Basically, yes, yeah.
And just Maekar is in a position that I don't think that no one's going to tell him that he's to blame for his brother's death to his face ever. Not to his face, but everyone's going to say it behind his back. And Dunk is maybe someone that if Dunk for some reason felt 100% like, yeah, Maekar, you totally meant to do it. I saw you meant to do it. Like, he might have said it. And I think Maekar maybe has him here in this moment to make sure that's not the case in some way too. Like, Dunk has the other half of the truth of everything, I feel like. And like they needed to come together in this moment to like feel the things they needed to feel, but then just say anything to each other that no one else is ever going to say to them. And, this isn't the first time, that they're going to do this again even. So, I mean, it must have went sort of well. Maekar tells Dunk that, Aegon's ready to be a squire, but he doesn't want a squire for anyone else. And he wants Dunk to take him on, but to come to Summerhall and swear his allegiance to Maekar. And he can continue to teach Egg, and Maekar's men will teach Dunk and train him up. It's at the start of the series. It's literally the best case scenario for Dunk that he could ever have. Like, this is the thing he was secretly dreaming about, except probably better than he ever could have dreamed. And he just says, I've had enough of princes. Like, he just is like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this madness, basically.
Okay, someone remind me, how does this go in the novella? Because I've been deliberately trying to stay away from spoilers online because I'm like, I know that the very end of this episode is not how it goes in the novella. But were there two conversations between Maekar and Dunk? Is that the way it is in the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Dunk finds that Egg overheard. And so Egg's pretty upset. And, he tells him that he's not the knight that he thought he was. And, that they kind of break up a little bit. But Dunk starts to get this vision of them. We kind of flash to this vision of Dunk having a conversation with Ser Arlan. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is where Ser Arlan starts telling the story of Pennytree.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't remember if we actually heard the whole story of Pennytree, because I feel like in Dance with Dragons, that the Blackwood boy is starting to tell Jaime about it, but then like something like he doesn't finish or he doesn't hear all of it.
I thought this was an addition. I could be wrong, but I don't remember this from the novella.
This is new. This is new lore.
Yeah.
So Jaime kind of ends his chapter right before Brienne shows up in Dance, musing and thinking that Tyrion would probably know what the pennies in the penny tree were.
Yeah. So it's funny because, I mean, we heard, or Chicky heard to be more appropriate, that there was like a nod to our fandom in this episode. And I think, it was the Tarth reference, but really, this reference to this like very specific reference to Pennytree is like, very connected to where Jaime and Brienne are. And it's just, knowing George's inclusion in this story, it's sort of like, oh God, what if he remembered that he was obsessed with them?
Yeah, I think he probably does remember anytime he digs into the Dunk stuff that he was obsessed with Jaime and Brienne, and I definitely think this was part of it. I think there was the Tarth nod, and I think it was this Penny Tree.
Yeah, because we find that basically the Penny Tree story is that they would nail a penny to the tree when they would go off to war, and then when they would come back, they'd take it down, and most of them are still there. So it's just
We should say, I mean, part of the thing that we don't know with Jaime and Brienne in the main series is we really don't know what happens between them at Pennytree beyond like a couple sentences. So for all we know, there is something that happens at Pennytree before they leave there. We really don't know. We won't know unless we get some concept of wins, I guess.
What if they nailed coins to that tree?
Gosh, I doubt it, but who knows?
It feels like the lovers that, have their locks at that bridge in Paris. I don't know why it makes me mad.
Kind of.
So we cut back to Dunk and Raymond are chatting, and we find that it's Sir Humphrey Beesbury's funeral, and of course his coffin is a hive, and there's bees around it, and Raymond
Okay. Hold on. For somebody who didn't actually really get an introduction, Beesbury really makes an impression in this show. I mean, this whole thing of having like a hive be at your wake and like inside your coffin is nuts, right? I mean, we've never heard this in the main series. I don't think that they do this.
And that's absolutely ridiculous. But also, before we get to that, to the Ser Arlan and Dunk scene, Dunk asks him, "Why did you never knight me?"
Yeah.
And like we get that confirmation. So that was very nice to get in a very good scene.
It's going to be nice for the sake of fandom to kind of put this to bed, because apparently there's been more controversy around it than I expected. A lot of people think that he actually was knighted. I can't believe that you would think that, but
there's so much controversy over so many fucking annoying things in this episode alone.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
So Dunk notices Darren is at the wake, and he also, like, in the background, the Kingsguard and Maekar are also here. So, like, literally the people who killed him are here. But Dunk goes over to Darren and is, like, super pissed. And, like, what the fuck? I can't even... Like, how dare you be here? Like, this is all your fault. Like, what are you doing? And Darren just kind of is like, whatever, dude. But then, tells him, I heard, are you going to let Egg squire for you? And Dunk's like, I'm kind of through with you all. And Darren just says, Aerion, I think Dunk says, I'm through with you, like, Dunk thinks that Darren is calling Egg a monster. And, Darren's like, no, and Aerion wasn't always a monster.
Which I like all of this. I like the idea that, Aerion didn't start out this way, and now Egg is, somebody that you think is a good person, and, who knows how he will actually turn out, though, without intervention is basically what this is.
Right, Darren's basically...
he's mentally ill. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how he's brought up, that doesn't change.
Probably not. I suppose the question is, how severe did it have to be? It's probably...
he's talking about, castrating Egg so that he can marry him. Right there, that's something really messed up.
Well, the way that Aerion dies is as much a signal of mental illness as anything I could possibly imagine in the entire series.
Well, isn't he, when I went looking on the wiki, he never becomes a contender for the throne because he's...
No, he dies before Maekar dies.
Well, and they disinherit his kids, don't they?
Yeah.
Just on the basis of his madness.
Of his,
he also named his kid Maegor.
Yeah, he's
Did he? Jesus.
The fear is that, at least according to the wiki, the fear is that if his kids inherited any of his, mental illness, it would be really bad.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, and overall, I do same Chicky like that from Darren, because he, like he says, like he liked fishing once. Like there was, he just wasn't always that. So like you said, like how bad did it ultimately have to get? And then and he ends it by saying, "I'm sure we'll make a man out of Egg too."
Right. So, like, basically kind of telling him, like, if you give up on Egg, like, you're, kind of, you're sending him down this path that hasn't worked out well for us.
I think there's just overall in this show, I think the way, if you had to distill their beliefs about what happens with the Targaryens, is it's a combination of perhaps some genetic strain toward some types of mental illness that they are then doubling down on by all the incest. And then part two, there's just an environment that is not wholesome and perhaps not completely moral most of the time, and that is a big chunk of what the problem is. And I think that's what Darren is saying. Egg is like any Targaryen. He's a coin that could flip either way right now if if something goes wrong.
So it's a combination of nature and nurture.
Yeah, which is, I think, what modern psychiatry pretty much believes is the case at this point. It's a combo of the two.
So I'll give you guys a fun Prince Darren fact. So Darren ends up marrying Kira of Tyrosh, who's the widow of Valar. So she was the, I think she had purple hair at the funeral. The girl standing next to Valar. She later becomes Darren's wife.
And wasn't she married to someone before Valar too? Or isn't there someone doesn't she get married like several times?
I don't think so. I think just to Valar. Two? Yeah, just two. I think you might be thinking of Elena, who was one of Baelor's sisters. And she got married many times, and she was basically, I think, like, her husband was the master of the money, but basically she was, because, like, Darren knew, like, she was the one with the brains of that couple. And so she was, like, super influential in Darren's court.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Here's your random Targaryen.
If I have it right, her name is Kira of Tyrosh.
Yep.
And she's married twice.
Yep. And then her and Darren had a daughter who they say was simple-minded, So she was conveniently passed over. So after the scene with Darren, we get a brand new scene that's not in the novella, but probably, I mean, to me, this was the most, like, holy shit scene. Dunk, or not Dunk, oh my gosh, sorry. Egg is sitting on his bed in the dark, and he takes a knife. And he starts walking, and we see that he's actually walking into Aerion's bedchamber. And we see, Aerion is, like, pretty, obviously pretty messed up from battle still. And, Egg's crying as he's doing this. And, as he gets closer to the bed, the camera flashes and we see that Maekar is, like, sitting right there next to Aerion, like, watching Egg. And so it's a little, like, almost like a jump scare. And Maekar just comes behind. He comes behind Egg and puts his hands on his shoulders. And Egg, like, leans into him. And it's just like this. Oh my God, they needed this moment.
Okay, so this is the reason I was mostly avoiding any discussion online, because I just didn't want to, I don't know, be tainted by whatever the online discussion was. I kind of love this edition. I love the way that Egg was looking in the mirror and seeing his, white Targaryen hair growing back, and clearly, being very upset about it. And I thought this was a pretty good addition. I mean, like, what it means for Egg going forward, I'm trying not to think too much about, but I don't know. What did you guys think? Good addition, bad addition?
I thought it was great. I mean, like, and obviously I've come to love Maekar in this series and stuff, and, like, he has to love, you have to believe he loves his children, you have to believe he loves Egg, and knows that, like, you have to believe there's something in him that wants to save his children, whatever save his children means for each of those children. And, the fact that he's there for Aerion when Aerion might, at this, who knows, Aerion might be dying. He doesn't know this. But then, like, just as quietly there for Egg with, like, I know I know what you were doing and I know why, and I'm sorry and I love you. Like, that to me was like,
yes, the understanding,
everything that said.
Yeah, the understanding that he had for Egg, with, like you said, like in silence, not even needing to say anything, just hands on your shoulders, like you said, just the way Egg leans into him. I love this entire scene.
Yeah.
It was really good, and
this is
because
yeah,
because he doesn't do it, it doesn't change anything. You know, it adds to it in a way, particularly coming off Darren's what Darren had just said. And we go nature versus nurture. Okay, well, if he does do it, now we have a whole different Egg, but he doesn't. So he remains, who he is. So,
and just how distraught he is too. He's distraught at the idea of having to go back to his world at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so well staged and so well acted. I approve of this edition as well. I don't think there's anything in this episode I didn't love.
I mean, this was Dexter's part of his Emmy reel for sure, because I mean,
oh my god,
oh god,
yeah, everything in his body and face here is just like,
well, and like you said, Devin, the way that Dexter leans into Maekar, the Egg leans into Maekar, like everything about the way that they acted this scene was just phenomenal. I mean, like, I can't believe this kid is 9 years old. Like,
yeah,
yes, like, and Egg's initial fear that is there, but then like the relief, almost like, oh, I don't know if I really wanted to do that anyway. It's so good.
Yeah,
and like maybe a little bit of faith that his dad was going to take care of it. And I, whatever that means, like not kill Aerion, but like be a better dad.
He's got me. Yeah, like like you said, in whatever way that means. Yeah.
Well, and it was I thought such a good visual and like moving illustration of the fact that, we really, I think, are meant to believe that Egg's, development as a human being rests on a knife's edge right now, and it could go one way or the other. And like, this is clearly intended to make us all very concerned about him returning to the Targaryen nest.
Yeah. And, Darren's words did not fall on deaf ears, because our next scene is Dunk coming back and asking to see Maekar. And we first get this little scene with Gwyn Ashford basically coming up to him and being like, you ruined my birthday, but what they did to you was shit, and, good for you.
I love this because this is, I think, exactly the spot that she like kicked him in like the first or second episode.
Yes.
I love that she can still be like, my birthday. She's like this Basti from Vanderpump of the series. My birthday. So they come back, or Dunk comes back to talk to Maekar and tells him, I'll take on Egg, but only if he is going to come with me out into the hedges, and, we'll sleep wherever, sometimes under the stars, sometimes in, some minor lord's house, and he's going to, live that life. And Maker's like, he's a Targaryen, like, that's not what he's meant for. And, Egg just kind of has Egg just kind of points out to him that, his other sons live that life, and look what has become of them. And they leave it at that. This was a scene pretty much directly from the books as well.
Yes. They so good. And like, yeah, pretty much lifted right off the page, which in everything that they've throughout the entire season that they've taken off the page and done that is just been so good.
So then we get a new scene.
I just want to say, I still just love those book lines, like that, Dunk delivers about, Aerion
never had any
only eating, like, I forget how he says it, rare red meat or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, this is exactly what it is.
One thing that this scene always makes me think of is that we see this whole idea repeated throughout a Game of Thrones, throughout the main series, though, where, Dunk is going to make Egg a better person, essentially, by, like, putting him through, like, a more regular life. But, there's always going to be that get out of jail free card with him. And then we see Varys doing the same thing with the next Aegon. Like, oh, he's going to have all of these experiences to, like, toughen him up and, give him better perspective on the world and everything. But of course, like, he has, like, a get out of, no actual danger is going to come to him. And so it's like Varys is almost trying to replicate our Egg's upbringing, where, again, we see the examples of Jon and Dany, who are the Targs that, like, don't have that safety net and go through all
true.
this.
It is such an echo of Egg's upbringing, and that especially in the way that Varys talks about it. And when is it Dance that he finally talks about it?
Yeah, when he's talking to Kevin.
Yeah, that is an interesting, because it's funny. I don't think in the main series you ever hear any lore about how Egg was a squire for Dunk. I don't think you ever really, and even after the novellas obviously came out, because he wrote it when he was writing Clash.
I mean, we get a little sense of who he was a tiny bit from Aemon, but not, like, the extent to which, more in the sense of, like, that he was somewhat, carefree and happy and had to, like, kill that part of himself to be king. Not, like, what he was, really.
Well, and, like, what his formative years were like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think also in this scene, the way it ends, is a part that wasn't in the book, is Maekar saying, "He's my last son."
Yeah.
Because after Dunk delivers those lines of "Darren never slept in a ditch" and the meat Aerion ate, I always remember it from the novella is Maekar chewed on that for a bit, and that it leaves it at that. But I love that line from Maekar, that he's my last son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good addition too.
Yeah. I mean, do they undermine everything they've done with Maekar for 5 3/4 episodes at the end? Maybe. We'll get there. But first, we do have a new scene, which I feel like everyone will.
Oh my god.
Fantastic.
Like, fucking Sweetfoot coming through. Like, I mean, do you guys remember the Bugs Bunny opera episode where, like, he has this fat white horse he's riding on in slow motion? I mean, he's like the reincarnation of Pegasus running. I've never seen a more beautiful horse than Sweetfoot.
This was such a good addition. And this is, to me, like, I feel like this encapsulates how this whole production has seemed to me, because it's like, they're such super fans that they're even occasionally kind of fixing and tweaking what George maybe didn't get completely right. And
right,
this
like,
is one
George, we care about Sweetfoot, damn it. So it turns out that Raymond Fossaway somehow has bought Sweetfoot back for Dunk, and Dunk and Raymond are talking a little bit, and Raymond's like, my dad was, we're like, basically, like, we're ready to split from these other Fossaway assholes, and my dad has been talking about wanting to build up the cider business, so I think we're gonna do that. And Dunk's like, oh, so there'll be an orchard with apples, and, like, doesn't that seem like a wonderful place for Sweetfoot to be? And, at this point, Dunk thinks it's just him, too. Like, he's just going to be one guy. He doesn't need 3 horses, really. And so
I totally read this as Dunk seeing this as, like, a great opportunity for Sweetfoot to have the best possible life, and just for her.
Yes.
Yeah, like, absolutely. Like, this is like, oh, Sweetfoot's going to live in an orchard. She's going to have all the apples she wants. Raymond obviously is a kind boy, a kind man, like, and he's, like, super appreciative of her too. He's like, oh, she's, like, a really nice horse. Like, Raymond's like, again, because we think maybe these are Dothraki horses potentially. Like,
now we do. Yeah.
Sweetfoot's pretty sweet. So, Raymond is genuinely thrilled to get to get Sweetfoot, and she gets one little green apple from them, and if no one else gets a happy ending, at least Sweetfoot does.
That's what I'm choosing to believe.
I mean, I will accept nothing else. yeah, nothing else for Sweetfoot. So Dunk kind of builds this cocoon in the trees with his cloak, and we see him just like he's whittling away at something, and he actually nails it to the tree, like Ser Arlan's story. I don't know what actually he nailed to the tree. I didn't catch that. Did anyone get a better?
It was the penny from the pommel of Arlan's sword. You know how there's a penny embedded in the pommel.
Gotcha. Okay, so he
chiseled it out of the sword and then he nailed it to the tree.
Okay, so the kind of commemorating this place and Ser Arlan, and yeah, aw. So he is finally ready to leave, and as he's getting ready to saddle up, Egg appears, and Egg is in his like peasant-y clothing, and he tells Egg that my father said I'm to serve you. And Dunk's like, serve you, sir. Like, he immediately goes into knight and squire relationship with him and tells him that, Chestnut's going to be his. And, if he catches him on Thunder, he'll get a clout in the ear. Actually, I think he's going to get a clout in the ear if he... Maybe it is if he's on Thunder. But there is definitely...
I don't even think he actually throws in the clout in the ear. It's, like, emotionally implied.
Yeah, the cloud in the air comes a little bit later.
Okay. And so they're riding, and the vision we get of them riding away is Ser Arlan on Sweetfoot with them, and they're riding through the fields, and then Ser Arlan just takes a different route. Kind of, leaving Dunk's life here finally, going off into the great sunset. But as they're riding, they're like, well, what should we do next? We could go anywhere in the Seven Kingdoms, and Dunk's like, Egg's like, actually, there are 9 kingdoms, and he rattles them off, and yeah, apparently there are 9 kingdoms, and, Dunk's like, was going to give him a clout in the ear, but then he's like, you're right. There apparently are 9 kingdoms if we count them like this. And Egg says, I've never been over the Red Mountains, and I've heard the Dornish have great puppets. And so it sounds like they're on their way to Dorne.
So I think the visual is pretty spectacular as like Ser Arlan is riding away, because I think it's all meant to be reminiscent of Dunk's coat of arms, because there's like a tree in the field. It looks very much like the tree. Yeah. And there's a sun. The sun is starting to set, so there are kind of sunset colors off in the sky in the distance, and I feel like it's just a really beautiful shot, well thought out. I loved them having Ser Arlan right away. Like that was just perfect.
And then we get a new title card, a Knight of the 9 Kingdoms. Devin, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, my mom texted me a picture. She binged it this weekend and just finished the last episode a little bit ago. She sent me a picture of that last of them riding off and Ser Arlan going off to the left, and was like, I need more of them right now.
Aww. Yeah, same. That's exactly how I felt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So after that new title card, we flash to the Targaryen contingent leaving, and talk about a bunch of unhappy people. You've got Aerion riding in a carriage essentially, and Valar and Darren looking unhappy, and Maker's looking around, and suddenly he's like, "Where the fuck is Egg? Has anyone seen Egg?" And that's how it ends. So
yeah, another good addition. I think this makes sense. This just makes so much sense to me. I mean, number one, it kind of sets up some continuity to actually revisit Maekar and the Targaryens in season 2, which there really isn't probably much of other than flashbacks, unless you do something like this.
I had the same thought. I was back and forth about it because I was thinking about Egg's boot that we have later and all of that. And like, well, how do we get there? And like you just said, this is season 2 where we go back to Maekar and we have this conversation out or whatever. So yeah.
But the only problem is that the actor playing Maekar says he's not in season 2. And so, like, to me, it means that Maekar learned nothing. And that seems a bit unsatisfying and unlikely.
Well, that's unfortunate.
You know, and unless, like, there's also the idea that he's just saying this, but he knows what Egg did. And he just doesn't want everyone to know he's with Dunk. And then there's also they're all going to, you know, they're all heading the same direction since, you know, if they're going to Summerhall, that's like, you know, on the border of Dorne, or even if they're going to King's Landing, like, you know, they're all going the same way. So, like, who knows who, you know, they might catch up with them or whatever. But I thought it undermined, like, Maker's growth in this episode, which I didn't love. But, I mean, there's a million ways to, like, fix it before season 2. And I agree, like, because I think the Sworn Sword is, like, 2 years after the Hedge Knight. So, I mean, we know that we at least know they went to the Citadel, but they probably also, like, if they're in, we know they go to Dorne. So, I mean, they're going to be past Summerhall. Like, they're going to go.
Don't they go to Summerhall? Don't they mention going to Summerhall?
I think so, yeah. Or,
at some point they connect with Aemon, because doesn't Aemon give Dunk or Egg a horse or something?
I think that's at the Citadel, though. I think that's in Old Town. They spend a little time in Old Town, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going with this. To me, it doesn't really undermine Maekar's growth, because Maekar does make the decision that Egg should squire for Dunk. I think that is a lot of growth, and he hasn't really gone back on that, other than not wanting him out on the roads alone with Dunk, which I don't think is a crazy thought to have.
Right. His kid. He doesn't want him going hungry. He doesn't want him, you know, I get what he's saying. I also get what Dunk is arguing, but I mean, I can't fault Maekar for not wanting his kid to be sleeping out on the dirt, you know?
Yeah. It makes his line of, he's my last son, it makes that mean a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, in the interim, too, between, you know, now and the Sworn Sword, we lose Darren and Valar and Mataras to the, you know, and who knows who else, to the spring sickness and stuff, too. So, I mean, there's also the idea that, I mean, again, just a million different ways to fix it. Like, you know, if Egg had been at court, he might have died as well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, all these different, you know, different reasons for, you know, eventually Maekar to be okay with this, or, you know, to be fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, as a story choice, it's just it just adds one more layer of conflict that connects to characters that the audience will already know, since we know that, you know, we don't really know how the audience is going to react to the fact that there are very few continuing characters are going to be in season 2. You know, it's pretty much just Dunk and Egg and maybe some flashbacks. So I completely understand why they might want to carry on a little bit of a thread of conflict from the first season to kind of keep people connected and invested in the ongoing story. It made perfect sense to me, and I don't think it's a huge change. I think I'm
choosing to believe that the actor is just, like, lying about not being in season 2.
Even if they weren't, even if he weren't in the present story, you'd think he'd end up in a flashback. But I don't know. Right. I guess we'll see.
I don't see how they don't bring him back like that. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that you know, I mean, like, how are you going to shoehorn Lyonel Baratheon into it? You know, like, I feel like people are going to be really pissed to not ever see him again.
Well, I'm interested what upcoming wars Lyonel Baratheon was referring to as well, because as far as we know, the wars would be quite a ways out from where we're at in the story right now. So they might be fiddling with this the same way that they fiddled with, you know, like the Redgrass Field
right. I mean,
timing
like,
and stuff.
I mean, unless they're going to bring him, but I mean, like, you can't bring him into the second Blackfire Rebellion because those people were just so stupid.
I would hope not. I hope that's not Lyonel. But, you know, my major thing is these tweaks, like, you know, changing the fact that, you know, Dunk went out to the Redgrass Field and stuff. I think these are all little things that will make the storytelling easier in season 2. To me, they were just immediate, like, oh, that makes complete sense to kind of ground and connect the audience in season 2, and I feel the same way about this. Like, I feel like it's just one more way to kind of carry the through line, so that seems less like, disconnected from the story that we've had so far. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see what they do with it, because they're already doing season 2 right now. They're shooting, right?
Yeah. So, do we have any questions about this episode?
Yes, we do have several pieces of mail. So we'll start with Bucko Hair on Discord. I would love your general views on MVP. The best additional scene added to the screenplay, best book moment brought to life, best costume, and how much is Dicks and Dragons out of a scale of 0, decent amateur treatment of the material, and 10, I guess they kind of forgot about Sweetfoot. They did, in fact, not forget about Sweetfoot.
I was going to say, for me, the best addition, I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate, like, the egg maybe stabbing Aerion scene and stuff, but, like, honestly, the Sweetfoot edition was by far my favorite thing. That was, I literally yelled Sweetfoot, just yelled it when that scene happened. I mean, I loved it.
It's made better by just how over the top it was too. Like, running loose to Dunk. Like,
because you don't see Raven at first, and it's like, how did Sweetfoot get here?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that scene, and I also love. I mean, we talked about throughout. I think everything they added was really good. But I love all this, the scenes with Darren at the Beesbury funeral, that scene with Darren, and then like the subsequent scenes with Egg going to kill Aerion, and what happens with Maekar. Like I just loved all that, so I thought that was all really good. There is one thing I wish they would have done, and it was when Dunk and Maekar have that second conversation, it's under, like, Dunk's out sleeping under the tree and Maekar comes to him.
Yeah, I wish you would have.
I thought that like that would have been really good had they done that with that backdrop.
Maker's not an outdoor guy, though.
No, he's not.
I love this episode. I loved all the weird musical choices. I love that they ended with Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons. I loved the smooth jazz with the best ship for Dunk ever. It was awesome.
Like, their musical choices throughout have been so interesting and so not bound to the world of Westeros, Like, just with the egg reveal with the super dramatic, like, just, they've been really fun and interesting.
Yes, and I'll also say, as far as my MVP, Maekar and Valar, even though Valar only had the one scene, it was pitch perfect, so I love that.
Yeah, right. I think Maekar is my MVP too. I just love the way that the actor was playing Maekar, like, because when they bring Dunk in to Maekar the first time, you kind of get the vibe that Maekar is trying to fill Baelor's shoes in a way, but you can just see in his face that he doesn't want to have to, and that he's just being eaten alive by guilt, and it just tremendous work there. I mean, it's such a rich story that way.
I thought his acting was really good, and I think just striking the balance in this, there's so many ways that this could have tipped over into not being good, and he just walked that very fine line, and he was really, really excellent.
We're going to give a shout out to Lucy Bevan and Emily Brockman, who did the casting for the series.
Oh,
great
fantastic.
Work. Great
work.
Fantastic. All right. Our next piece of mail from Really Awesome Costumes on Tumblr. Loving your reviews. Was also very apprehensive about the show, but I'm loving it. I also thought Rafe's gender was ambiguous. It wasn't just you, Devin. Thank you for that. Our next piece of mail from Life Scene 8420 on Reddit. Hello from Houston, Texas. I know that Maekar is trying his best as a father to raise his children, especially his son. When do you think he realized that Egg would be better off with Dunk? Because he saw how Aerion was, but chose to ignore it and didn't really do anything to correct his behavior. When do you think he realized he failed as a father?
I mean, when he
ended up in a trial by 7.
Somewhere there.
I mean, when he's watching Egg thinking about killing Aerion, like that is like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the show. I mean, I think even in the show, they have indicated that Maekar knew that Aerion was a problem, because I think it was in the first or second episode that he says something about, like, he might have to kill Aerion or something. So, I mean, I don't think he's ever not known that Aerion had gone wrong. I think perhaps he had not internalized his own role in that until, like, the events of the story here. That's one of the reasons that I loved the addition of the Egg considering stabbing Aerion scene, is it just really kind of drove home, I think, for Maekar that, you know, gotta make some changes in how I'm running this show.
All right. Our next piece of mail from Steely M23 on Reddit. Hi, all. As we enjoy the last episode of this wonderful season, we know we are likely saying goodbye to many of these characters and the tremendous actors who played them. If you could choose one human character, not Sweetfoot, LOL, who does not appear in the existing novellas to return in a future season, who would it be and why? Tenzel, Raymond, Lyonel, Steely Pate, Maekar. Weirdly, I'm leaning towards Aerion. Finn Bennett is clearly such a star, and it would be fun to see him again as a potential threat to Dunk and Egg, while having to be more subtle about his revenge after he returns from Lys.
The answer is Lyonel.
I feel like we definitely will see Lyonel. I feel the same way about Raymond. I feel like we will see both Raymond and Lyonel in some future season.
I don't think we'll see Raymond. I think we're just going to assume he's happy, because I kind of feel like Sir Glendon is going to give us that Raymond-like character, unless they were even no, because Raymond wouldn't be a hedge knight, but I think like Glendon is going to give us that Raymond energy, so we don't really need Raymond.
Maybe so. You might have a point.
Yeah, I think because they've introduced flashbacks that kind of anything is possible, because they can just flash back to, hey, we were traveling, we got to go see Raymond's orchard.
So someone said they could have a job where they have to deliver some barrels and stuff. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
They do have a job like that at the beginning of the next novella. So,
I mean, yeah, they could definitely, have a Dunk's like a delivery. He's an Amazon delivery driver.
I would love to see it. Ever since I read the novella, I've always wanted to see Tenzel again. So that would be who I would want to see.
Yeah, that's mine. I feel pretty confident after the interviews from this season that they intend for us to see Tenzel again. I feel like.
Oh, nice. I haven't watched any interviews or anything, so that's nice.
Yeah, I saw something. I think it was Peter who let something slip. So, and I was thrilled because, as we all know, that is my favorite Dunk ship. I mean, Lyonel and Dunk is up there, but.
I think I want to see Darren the most. Like, because I'm interested in how he continues to be a part of Egg's life, because he's a part of Egg and Aemon's life, like, until he dies, and like they love him, and obviously Egg loves him enough to name his son after him, and so like, I'm just like, and he's going to be married maybe the next time we would see him, like. I'm interested, and who knows what other dreams he might have. So I think he'd be an interesting one to see again.
Yeah, he'd be good before that spring sickness comes around. Unfortunately.
Oh, he doesn't. That's old Darren dies.
That's other Darren.
Yeah.
Our next piece of mail from the Zumpus on Reddit. Hello. It seems that Dunk's oaken iron did not, in fact, guard him well, since it was broke in the first charge. So when I'm thinking about how Dunk's shield ended up in the armory in Tarth, my headcanon is that Egg had like 20 shields made for Dunk, and they left them in various houses around Westeros because Dunk kept breaking them.
Oh, God. Maybe that's it. You end up with Dunk's bastard. You get one of his shields.
Like, it's kind of like who was the baseball player that had the like awesome gift baskets that he'd give to like the women he slept with?
I don't know.
Peter. He would
God.
give
that
like
Jeter?
I mean, they sounded like lovely, like beautiful gift baskets.
Like very elaborate gift baskets.
Yeah, and he basically was like, I'm gonna have my fun while I'm playing. And then when he retired, he got married and had a bunch of kids. Like, but was like very like respectful and like quite giving apparently.
All right. Our next piece of mail from Saltwater Sheep on Reddit. Love your podcast. My favorite comfort listen during these awful times, to be honest. I'm sure everyone screamed at the mention of Tarth in this episode. How do you imagine Dunk is actually related to Brienne? Did some descendant have an affair? Did Dunk maybe get in there right before her ancestor was married and she never told anyone the baby was really Dunk's? Is there a chance he was married before the Kingsguard? Seems unlikely. Also, I'm sure it's been mentioned before, but how do we square Dunk as an honorable knight when he's got these, presumably, bastards scattered across the realm? Honestly, it doesn't bother me. Get it, big boy.
So I was thinking about this.
But I can see how it's morally gray, at least.
Well, like thinking about those sisters of Egg, like that think they have love potions, but then you also have Shira Seastar, who probably does have real love potions. Maybe they love potion Dunk, and he got with one of the sisters, but they could all play it off that it wasn't really his fault.
Oh, God. I mean, maybe for one of them, but I mean, it's pretty heavily implied that.
Or you think he was with both of them?
Well, no. For one of the kids. I mean, for like maybe Brienne's line. But I mean, we definitely are pretty sure he's hooking up with old Nan in Winterfell. And I mean, I don't think any love potions are involved there. And then it's pretty heavily implied that he is an ancestor of the Cleganes as well. So
you think that he and Rohan had a kid together?
No. When would that have happened? I don't think so, no.
Like after or like maybe that's why she fled?
No, her kids are too well documented. You mean after she fled the Lannisters? I know. Yeah. I don't think so. I doubt it.
I mean, and spoiler if you haven't read the second novella, but I mean, if Dunk had taken her up on the offer, sure, maybe, she would have passed one of his kids off as, what's his name?
Eustace.
But I mean, I don't think so. I don't think the chronology works out.
Wait, hold up here. Do we think that he didn't take her up on? Because aren't we pretty sure that he did?
You'll come and you'll work at at our castle.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Because we're like, do we think? I mean, I always assume that they had sex, right?
It's not till she marries the Lannister dude, the Gerald Lannister. I don't think it works out time wise.
Okay.
For her to have Dunk's kids. She's quite a bit older than Dunk. She's in her mid-20s. So if you're talking about like 15, 20 years later than that, how many kids could she even? I don't know. To me, the timelines probably don't work out for her to have ever had a kid with Dunk. And like, I feel like that would be a tough to hide secret, even if it was after she ran away and disappeared. I don't know, though. Who knows? We don't even know at what degree Dunk is related to Brienne. Is he her grandfather? Is he her great-grandfather? I think we always kind of assumed great-grandfather, but now I guess we really don't know. I don't know.
And I mean, I think he could have been married. I mean, at some point, Egg's going to be married, and Egg got married fairly young, so I don't think that they're going to be hedge knighting around when they're married. Like, they're going to be a little bit more stable. So, Dunk could have been married, and I mean, he could have been married and had kids, and his wife died before he was in the Kingsguard.
It is possible, technically speaking.
I mean, I kind of hope that's what happened. Just, he has that happiness. Any more mail?
Yes, we have one more piece of mail from a stranger giving the strange welcome on Tumblr. Hey, ladies and gent. The first thing I thought with all the extra Maekar and Darren content this episode was how much you were going to have a feast with it. Also, the Beesbury coffin. I'm going to miss this dumb show. I did want to continue the discussion from last week for a moment and weigh in with that user who was, they brought on another woman to kill. First of all, I'm glad that you all liked her character, and I'm genuinely not trying to dissuade you from that opinion. What hits and what doesn't is different for every person. I just want to push back a bit on the idea that it's not fridging because she was a very active participant in her own death. For me, anyway, it's not active versus passive that I think about with fridging. It's A, was this person only put on the screen to die? And B, is it used as a cheap way to have emotional stakes? I will say that the actress playing Rafe was excellent and did a better job than most, making her character her own in the brief amount of time she had on screen than most. But the instant that I saw her, I was just like, oh, great. Set a timer to see how long it takes before she dies. Then she does die, and I didn't care because the character had like 10 to 15 minutes of screen time in episode 5, and that's just not enough time to care about her. Contrasted with someone like Egret, Martin probably knew he was going to kill her when he introduced her, sure, but we spent a lot of time getting to know her and sit with the two of them and develop her. And she died fighting for her people, so I care more about John's grief because I've been able to sit with the two of them more. For me, it just felt like the showrunners wanted to fill time and were like, oh, let's give Dunk a tragic backstory to fill the time. And then just threw Rafe on the page. It just felt cheap and rushed, but it didn't for you guys, which is great. I just wanted to present my perspective as to why, at least for me, my dislike of that portion goes a lot deeper than passive or active. Anyway, if you had to pick one side character from this season, just one to be a recurring character for the whole show, which one would it be? Raymond for me, definitely. Thank you for all the work you do on the podcast. And we answered that second question earlier. Thank you.
So we are going to be doing a special episode just recapping season 1 as a whole. So any last words anyone has on episode 6 specifically?
It was great.
Oh, I was going to say, but for the recurring characters, I just want to say if we could get one secondary, I actually just decided definitely Maekar. I definitely think I would like to see him back next season.
All right,
I just love it. So yeah, that's it.
We have loved getting all of your mail. And, just future episode, like I said, we're going to be recording an episode specifically about this season. And then our next set of episodes is actually a reread of The Mystery Night, which is the 3rd novella. So you'll be getting quite a bit of Dunk and Egg content for over the next month or so. And we have loved getting kind of a lot of your real-time comments and everything. So you want to send us a message, you can reach us at closethedoorend@gmail.com. You can send us a message on Tumblr, and you can choose to do that anonymously if you're more comfortable with that. And you can also send us a message on the Jaime and Brienne Reddit. Like and subscribe to us where you listen to your podcasts. Also, you can support us at Close the Door and Come Here on Podbean. And we're looking into just maybe doing a little bit better job of giving our subscribers on Podbean more. So if you have ideas about that, I think we would love to hear that as well.
Patreon.
Patreon. I'm so sorry. Support us on Patreon. Oh my God, why do they let me do this? Support us on Patreon. And yeah, if you have some ideas, things we've done in the past, we've done like special episodes for, people. We've done specific episodes at different, even pricing sometimes. So, if you have ideas, we would, I think, be very open to hearing that. And I am closing the door. Get out.